Anyway, home church ministry experience is important, he said. Number 3, exposure to other cultures. Exposure to other cultures. It's almost like, short-term mission trips. Go there, be there, mix it up, expose yourself to all kinds of different contexts. Get basic education. Basic education. Not just missiology, but theology. Send the best. Those are the things that I was thinking about. Phase number 2, getting there. Getting there. Contact or candidacy with mission agency. I do know some people who have just gotten a quiver in their liver and just headed out to Central Asia. Kind of like God has called me. They usually come back in about 3 months or 6 months. Basically, to be practical, what it normally means is that you need to hook up with some mission organization that shares your values and that will share your passion and will support you and give you structure, give you the means for financial support, give you, if they don't give you training, at least give you orientation to culture. I tell you, one of the most shocking things is the most major church planting mission agencies in the world do not have church planter training. It's the same thing I'm saying about seminary. You go to them and you say, how do you train church planters? And you know what they say? They say the team leader trains them. Well, we go over and we train the team leaders. And the team leaders say, why didn't we ever get this in seminary or through our mission organization? And I said, why aren't you trained? And they point back, they say, the mission organization. Who's supposed to train you? The mission organization. Mission organization said, who's supposed to train them? The team leader. There is a handbook, write this down, M-A-R-C, called the Mark Handbook. Massive handbook. Joyce Sisler has one of the latest editions. Every mission agency known to man is in that book. It's like an encyclopedia. It's a big, thick book. And it's under topic. If you're interested in church planting, go under church planting. It'll list every organization. You're listed in certain countries or people groups, go to them. It's the Mark Handbook, M-A-R-C. It's an acronym. Okay? Hook up. Ministry Assignment Search. Ministry Assignment Search. Okay, I've hooked up with an agency. How do I find out where God is calling me to go? Again, this is Ed Clowney's influence on me. Ed Clowney is now channeling through me to you. Okay? He is former president of Westminster. It's like, get away from this, what I call, the quiver in your liver need for a calling to find a people group. You're going to be waiting for that quiver forever. Basically, here's how most people determine where God is calling them. Okay? There's a general interest. It's usually 3 phases. This isn't in here, but usually it's 3 phases. Number 1, there's a general interest in an area or a people, and you go there short term. Short-term experiences, 1 to 2 weeks. Maybe 2 to 3 weeks, almost never more than a month. And you sometimes, after you've done that once, you go, you're talking over here with your spouse or others, and you go, was it, I don't know, it was interesting. I think I'm going to go again in 6 months or whatever. And this is the way it normally happens. And then you go back, and you begin to build relationships with the missionaries, with the team leaders there, with some of the nationals there. And then you begin to pray for them. And so you have this phase of short-term, putting your toe in the water, getting a feel for the people, begin to think, pray, visualizing yourself there, that kind of thing. That, as it continues, will normally, for somebody who's being called to cross-cultural mission, that will normally open the door for not just a visit, like a 2-week or 3-week visit, but for a short-term commitment. which is normally 12 months to 24 months. It's much more significant, but it's really no more than 1 to 2 years. And during that 1 to 2 years, you really immerse yourself. You move there, you live there, you get past the honeymoon stage with the leaders. You watch them fight. You see their ugly underbelly. You see the reality of their struggles. You see what it's really like when you're there 12 to 24 months. Okay? And often in that time, it either becomes increasingly clear, this is for me, or increasingly not. As it does become increasingly clear, if it does, that this is for you, the next step is to make a commitment. Instead of 1 to 2 years, it's according to your mission agency. Sometimes they'll say 3, sometimes they'll say 5. What does yours say, Rob?
They asked for 3 to start with.
Okay, 3 to start with. That's what a full-time missionary is. And then after you do those 3, or after you do those 5, you go into itineration, reevaluation, support raising, and you determine whether you're going to return for another 3 to 5. That's what a full-time cross-cultural missionary looks like. That's very different than what most people think. Most people think, I'm lying in bed, it's 3 in the morning, I broke out in a cold sweat, and I had a vision. I was supposed to go to Ichiwama. And I looked over at my wife, and she said, no, oh God, no. And I grabbed her, and I grabbed my kids, and I threw them on the plane. And we were there for life. We died there, and they fought me the whole time. But we died there, and I want you to come join me. It's just, it's so, think about missions like that. Don't think about testing the waters with 1 or 2 weeks, going to 12 to 24 months, trying it for 3 years, reevaluating it. And you know what? I know people like Dan Iverson now, been on the field for, 30 years. Guess what? 3-year intervals, 10 times. 3 years, 5 years, reevaluate, look at it. Is this right for us? Is this right for our family? Is this the right season for us? Should we continue? Should we not continue? Yes. For Tom Patton, other friends of mine who were on that team for 10 or 15 years, after 12 years, they looked at their family, they looked at their situation. Is this right? Is this where God's continuing to call us? No. He's calling us to be radical senders. We're going to be mission pastors at a PCA church, and that's where they are right now in Alabama. It's just like, it's a season of your life. It's like, don't think of cross-cultural missions. It's like, this is the last day of the mission class. This is when Childers plays the music. And the buses are waiting, and he wants every head bowed. Now, who among you is willing to go? I want to see your hand. Who am I? We'll pray for you. Who's willing to go? It's just like, that's so crazy. It's almost like, who's willing to start the process? Basically, the Ed Clowney approach is, everybody should be. Everybody. And after that short-term mission trip, if the door is closed, or after that 12 to 24 months, if the door is closed, after that 3-year commitment, if the door is closed, so be it. But the compelling need of the nations is so great, everybody should go until they're told to stop. Not wait and be told to go. You've already been told to go. You've been commanded to go. You see the difference in the paradigm? And then hands-on missionary training. I mean, it's just like, do not go with any missionary organization that's going to do the parachute drop. That's like committing suicide. And a lot of missionary organizations will do that. They'll just take you somewhere and drop you off, saying, be warm and be filled, and send us good reports. Okay? And if you're not in a situation where somebody will mentor you and coach you and be an apprentice, like you have to be if you're going to be a surgeon, like you have to be if you're going to be a pilot, like you have to be if you're going to be an electrician, like you have to be if you're going to be a plumber or a mason or anything. Don't go. Be apprenticed and take responsibility for it. Apprenticeships, internships, be a lifelong learner on the field. Finish strong. In other words, I don't have time, but this is a whole final session in my church growth class and in the conference I'm about to do. Finish strong means don't forget that the greatest commandment is not the Great Commission. It's the Great Commandment. That's basically the final pitch. A lot of people start thinking, the most important thing, Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? Most activist church planter types actually believe, now they wouldn't say it, they wouldn't put it on paper, but they actually believe that Jesus' answer to that question, what's the greatest commandment? Was go, make disciples of all the nations. Instead of love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And the Great Commission comes from that. And that's the only way you'll continue to love your wife, love your children, love your God, and not be robbed of joy in the face of overwhelming demands of mission. Finish strong.